3 o'clock for sports clubs across the UK. It is a stand against racist online abuse. Now, in a minute, we've got all the details of what's happening. But here's Baggies boss Sam Allardyce speaking about it yesterday.
I hope this is the start of something bigger. I hope that many other sports are joining in, I think. And I hope many more people across the country will start joining on a regular basis. It will not make a difference just doing it once and just doing it for a few days. It will only make a difference if this is the start of something that's going to grow and get bigger and bigger.
So what exactly is happening from today? Here's Sam Harper.
If you're having a scroll on social media between 3 this afternoon and the end of Monday, then you'll find it a bit quieter than usual. That's because a collection of English football's largest governing bodies and clubs are taking part in a social media blackout. They won't be tweeting. There'll be no Instagram stories. And certainly no Facebook posts. It's all in response to abuse and discrimination on social media, and it follows a similar move from Birmingham City, who recently had a week-long social media boycott themselves after former Blues midfielder Jude Bellingham was sent racist abuse on Instagram. Sanjit Bandari from Bilston is the chair of Kick It Out, the anti-discrimination charity.
We're doing this for 3 reasons, and we're really clear on why we're doing it. I think first is to signify the collective anger of everyone in football at the damage that this kind of toxic abuse has on the people who play, watch and work in the game. Second is to show unity with those victims of abuse. And then finally is we think that by removing ourselves from the platforms, we know that this is a symbolic gesture, but we think that a symbolic gesture that's made by a lot of people is a call to those with power to do something. And so we're saying to them, we need you to act and we need you to create change. That's the effect that we want. We want to create a movement and some momentum. And the organisations that can do something are social media companies and the government. And we need both of them to do more and move faster.
So what do the social media companies have to say about this? Well, Facebook said back in February that tougher measures would be taken to tackle the issue. Last week, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, announced a tool to enable users to automatically filter out abusive messages from those they don't follow on the platform. As for the government, well, they threatened social media companies with big fines which could add up to billions of pounds if they don't tackle the issue. Meanwhile, it's not just football clubs and organisations taking part now. Rugby clubs, various cricket teams, British cycling and the Basketball League will all fall silent on social media from 3.
So what impact will this boycott have? Well, joining me now is Dr. Laura Higson-Bliss, a social media law expert from the University of Keele. Good morning, Laura.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We heard Sam Allardyce say a few moments ago that he doesn't think that actually, just as a one-off thing, it's going to make any difference. Do you think it will make any difference?
No, I don't think it will. I think it is symbolic, and, the amount of sporting industries that have got behind the football organisations, especially over the last few days, is clearly really good, and it's massive and it's symbolic. But will it actually make a difference? Probably not. For me, no doubt that the social media boycott will be trending on social media over the weekend, ironically. And I think there's a major issue. There is absolutely no doubt there's a major issue with online abuse and that we need to be doing more. But these issues very much stem from society, and it needs to be a societal approach that we take in order to try and tackle online abuse.
Isn't the onus here, and I fully agree with the point you're making there, that the people who are putting this sort of stuff on, is disgusting, some of the things that you read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sexist, racist, homophobic, it's all sorts, and sometimes just some really nasty comments to people, which, it can really impact on you. And you think back to, the Caroline Flack thing just over a year ago as well. But isn't the onus here on the social media companies? Isn't it on Twitter? Isn't it on Facebook to actually do something about this?
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt that they need to be doing more. But whether the complete onus should be on them, I would say no. At the end of the day, they are companies. The government are trying to bring in legislation which will put more of an onus on them. The skeptic in me thinks that social media companies want that regulation now, so that when things do happen and we still see hateful comments online, they can say, well, we've done what you've told us to do, what more can we do? But there is, like I said, absolutely no doubt that they need to be doing more, that they need to be building their technology to filter out hateful comments. Obviously, there are some issues around language and terminology, which is always going to be an issue. But we know that there are certain terminologies that are associated with sexism, there's certain terminology associated with racism, where you can build in filters to try and find those comments quickly and remove them.
They have already got that technology, though, haven't they? I mean, pretend they haven't, but of course they have. They can do that.
Yes, I think it's an issue here is that we've got to remember that they are private companies, that they are built to make money. That's what they're for.
Do you think, though, and again, you touched upon this, Laura, that there is still this attitude, and at the moment they're quite right as well, even though this shouldn't be, from some people, I think they can just say what they like online and not face any consequences, apart from a ban for 24 hours or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hear them all say, well, it's part of my freedom of expression, but forgetting that when they are sending those abusive comments and, you know, shutting down social media accounts and silencing them like they're going to do over the weekend is in turn restricting freedom of expression. So it is a difficult one, and this is where I think it needs to go back, that we need to be educating people, and this should have happened years ago. You know, Facebook's been on the scene since like 2004. It needs to be built within our educational systems. Football clubs need to build it within their fan systems, that this will not be tolerated.
Do you think it's getting to the point, and I know that it's happening this weekend, this blackout, and there may be others, do you think it's getting to the point where football clubs, for instance, should just be saying to their players, you're not going on social media, you just don't do it?
Possibly. I would caution against that because, like I said, I think that is restricting freedom of expression. I think you can't just say don't go on social media, particularly in the world that we're currently living in COVID, and, you know, you don't have fans in the football stadium anymore, and I have no doubt that that probably has an effect on the game. That social media interaction is probably the only interaction they're getting with fans at the moment. Sure.
So we'll see what happens. So it's going to start at 3:00 today, and it goes on until Monday evening, I believe. And we'll just see what the fallout is from it. But do you think this is just going to be a one-off, or do you think this is actually the start of something now to actually put that pressure on the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world?
I think that pressure's been on them for a long time. I think that hopefully, I don't think this is just going to be a one-off. I think for it to work and for it to be more than symbolic, it would need to occur on more than one occasion.
Thanks very much for your time this morning. That's Dr. Laura Higson-Bliss. Mike from Burton says,